Well, hello there, Kath Langman here, and welcome back to the Productpreneur Success podcast. Now, it's been a little while, I think, since I last brought a guest onto the show. So today's episode is a really special one, and I am joined by a very impressive productpreneur. So my guest today is Anne Tai. She's the founder of Amaia Lashes. And like so many of us, I know myself as well, Anne had an aha light bulb moment basically when she had experienced a problem personally and she couldn't find a product or solution readily available to buy, and that gave her the product idea for her business. Hands up if that's the way you started your business. And so since then she's gone on to build a multi-million-dollar business, and it's only been a few short years. And part of the story that she's going to share with us today is, of course, around the marketing strategies that she used to launch and to grow her business. Of course, that's what we want to talk about on this show. And so she talks about that launch phase compared to what's working for her now with her marketing as well. So that's always good to find out. But she talks about a whole lot more than that as well. So like me, like many of you I know as well, she launched her business initially working from home. In the beginning, she worked really, really long hours. She was doing everything herself. She was sacrificing time with her family and friends and, working to the point of exhaustion and burnout, which of course, it's very common, but it's not a sustainable way to operate, is it? But now Anne operates out of her own warehouse and she has the help of a team. So she's able to continue to grow in a much more sustainable way over time. Now, despite the fast growth of her business, particularly during the e-commerce boom time of COVID, 2020, 2021, like so many others, she's still weathered a number of, pretty tough, challenging times, particularly over the last year. So you have to just tune in and listen to how she, found her way through those tough times to now being in just such a better place in terms of her business growth as well as her personal energy and mindset. So I really love this conversation with Anne because she's also really open and honest about the reality of her journey, because let's face it, no one's business is always sunshine and roses. We all go through downs as well as ups along our entrepreneurial journey, and if we know that it's normal and common for all entrepreneurs, then I think that makes the experience feel a lot less isolating. So I think you'll find Anne's story both inspiring as well as comforting, and I can't wait for you to hear her share it. Now, before we dive into the interview, I want to share a quick resource that you might find helpful in conjunction with this episode, particularly where Anne talks about her marketing. My e-commerce marketing planning guide is a super helpful resource. It's going to help you give you a step-by-step process for planning out your marketing so that you can start absolutely rocking your own website traffic and sales in your online store. So if you want to grab a copy of that for free, you just head to katherinelangman.com/planning and you can get an instant download. But now let's get stuck into the episode and welcome Anne onto the show. So welcome to the show, Anne. It's so good to have you here.
It's so nice to be here, Kat. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. So, like I say in the intro to this interview, I read about your business, Amaia Lashes, in a news article on news.com.au, and I was super inspired by your story. So I'm really, really keen for you to share it with our listeners. But let's start by getting you to introduce yourself and your business.
Okay, so I'm Anne Tai. I'm the founder of Amaia Lashes, and we sell DIY beauty products that allow people to do like simple beauty routines that they usually get done at the salon from home.
Yeah, I love it. And tell us about the inspiration for starting your business.
So Amaia actually started, I was actually working as a lawyer and I was miserable. It's not like they show in the movies. It's not like all this glitz and glam. It's like long days and not great pay. And I had one kid at that stage. And I looked around and my colleagues were like, they seemed to have it all, but they didn't. Like they had the money and they had the nice house and they had a nice car, but they didn't have the family, or they spent so many hours at work that like their kids don't talk to them. They're divorced. And I was like I said, I had a 1-year-old at the time, and I was like, is this going to be my life forever? Like, am I getting a glimpse into my future? And I was like, I got to do something else. And I had kind of dabbled with business in the past, but it didn't really go anywhere. It was just like, I would start I would get businesses and kind of increase the revenue and try to sell them again. And so I was like, I got to do something else. And I was thinking of business ideas. And, it's like when you're always thinking about it, nothing comes up.
Mhm.
And then one day I went to a party and literally glued my eyelids shut with lash glue. And then I
No
was like, it was horrible. I had my makeup all done. Everything was done. I was good to go. And then the glue had literally sealed my eyelids shut. And I had to hop in the shower and undo everything I just did.
way.
It was horrible. And so that got me researching like what's the alternative. And back then magnetic lashes were really new. And then that was it. Like I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. And I did try a few pardon?
Light bulb moment.
Yeah, I tried a few magnetic lashes actually, and it was just like not working for me. And I
Right.
was like, this is it. Like, this is what I'm going to do. And that's how Amaia started. We started off just purely magnetic lashes, and now we've branched out to brows as well.
Ah, super cool. And so how long ago was that you had that light bulb moment?
2019.
Okay.
So what are we now? Like 4 years ago now. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's pretty quick. How long was it then for you to go through that sort of next process of research, development, presumably, all of that kind of stuff from
That was,
idea?
I fast tracked everything. So I went to a chemist in Perth because I'm in Perth.
Mhm.
So that allowed things to be like a little bit quicker because obviously we don't have to spend time like shipping things between ourselves and stuff. So that shortened the process. It was probably about 9 months,
Okay.
like perfecting everything until we launched. And even then, when we launched, it probably wasn't perfect, but we launched 3 days after I gave birth. So at that
Oh
time,
my
it was like, you just got to do what you got to do at that point.
Lord. That's
Yeah,
quite crazy.
yeah. So
And how has it been since then? I mean, I've got kids as well. I remember those early days after giving birth. You're fairly tired and what's
it
going
was
on?
crazy. I mean, when we started, we didn't market it too hard. It was just like we kind of soft launch. And I think we did about $400 in that first day. Like it wasn't like, this big sellout thing like people have. And I thought at the time, I was like, damn, maybe this isn't going to go like I
Mm,
thought it would,
yeah,
but I think what you don't realize is when you launch, it's just a small part of your whole journey. Like
yeah.
just because you don't have that huge initial success that you want to, it doesn't mean you're not going to get it later on.
Mm, mm.
So yeah,
And maybe you might just need a little bit of sleep to be able to have the energy to drive that forward.
yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
Oh, that's such a cool, a story of inspiration and startup. I love that. So tell us a little bit about, the journey since then. I mean, it's a few years in now, and obviously a lot's happened. Or perhaps before you tell us about that journey, kind of describe what where's your business at now?
So we're multi seven figure at the moment in revenue, and but it doesn't mean profitability. So we are right now probably we've just hired 2 new staff. We've moved into a new warehouse. We're at a spending stage. So while that sounds like, like
Super impressive.
yeah, it's like you got to think about it in context with everything else. And I think that's the thing. People hear like, wow, this brand's doing 7 figures or this brand's doing 6 figures. And it's like, that's so amazing. But like, we're not
Actually
really
kicking.
profitable. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like
Mm.
we're probably doing a greater, like, you're probably more profitable than I am at the moment. So maybe you're more impressive, like it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Part of the
So
scaling journey though.
it
So
is though. So
obviously you've
we
scaled
are
quite fast.
yeah, we're at a high spend phase, I think, because we're marketing ourselves, we're getting our brand name out there, we've just hired new staff, we're getting a warehouse and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at the moment, kind of growing the business and in that scaling phase, but not quite at the profitable stage yet.
Yeah, yeah. So that'll be the next step. But tell us a little bit about that, that journey over the last few years to really drive it from light bulb moment to multi-7-figure business with staff and a warehouse.
So it's started, like I said, 3 days after I gave birth, and it sounds crazy, but I knew that it was a trend, and I knew that it was people were going to pick up on it, and people were going to start building businesses around it. And if I had waited that 6 months when I was ready, I wouldn't have been like, one of the first, or like to be able to build that big brand. So I had to start when I started. And I don't regret that. But it also happened to be COVID as well.
True.
So it was February 2020. My son was born on the 19th. COVID hit us in like kind of March 2020-ish was like the big, so I was crapping myself because you didn't like at that time, there was so much uncertainty, wasn't there? Like we didn't know how the market was going to go. We didn't know if we were allowed to have our own house. Like, and I was like, crap, like this isn't good. Little did I know that COVID was actually the thing that probably launched the business. Like people were on their phones more, they were at home more, they
on Zoom all the time.
Yeah, they were like, because your face was covered, your eyes were still there, so that was like the one thing that they could kind of accessorize.
That's right.
So we launched and sold 7 figures in our first year.
That's incredible.
It was, yeah. And then actually so that was great. And then I actually reached a really low point in 2022. So last year actually. And I was just burnt out. Like I had been working 16 hours with this newborn, like trying to get everything together. And so last year I really burnt out. And things dipped for me. Like I was like, and to be honest, magnetic lashes dipped a little too. Like I feel like they were a little bit of a phase. And don't get me wrong, like that I still sell them and they're still doing okay, but it wasn't like it was back in 2020 when they were like a new thing.
Yep.
And I was naive to that. I thought it'd go forever, like I thought I was onto something forever, but I wasn't. And that kind of was hard to accept as well. So in that year, we developed our new brow tint. That actually took a while, but we launched our new brow tint. And that actually really helped with sales. So that's probably our main seller now it's a world first premix henna brow tint. It's like, got it here. So it's like,
show it on video and then everyone will just have to jump on
your tint in like one thing, and you just literally, so I've got it on my brows now, you just literally wipe it on your eyebrows, leave it on for 15 minutes, wipe it off, and then your brows are done.
Oh wow.
That's what we mean by like beauty products that you can do from home.
Yeah.
So that kind of launched everything again and invigorated me again, and like now here we are. But it's been a journey for sure.
Yeah.
Lots of downs.
I mean, I really want to dive into some of your strategies and things like that. But I mean, you mentioned burnout. I've been through that myself. Probably all entrepreneurs do at some stage. But for you, what did you do when that hit to get your energy back and build your well-being again?
I tried everything, and the thing, like, I'm not like a meditation person, but I tried it. I tried like everything that I could. And in the end, it was actually talking to like a trauma coach, because that was my issue. And I wanted, like, I thought that so I went from like law, and I was like doing really well in that career. Like I was working in a murder case, and like I had a job when I had I wasn't a lawyer yet. I was like studying and working in it as a paralegal. And then I had a job ready to go when I graduated. Like I only had a year left of the degree. Like I was really felt like I was getting somewhere there. And then like it flipped and I became like a mum. And like, not that there's anything wrong with becoming a mum, but I just felt like I went from like having this whole career and everything like ready for me to being like a mum. And that like,
it's a change of identity just kind of overnight, really, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And I really struggled with that. And I thought that like building this business and having like success again would make me like better. Like, oh, once I get to, high 6 figures, low 6 figures, 7 figures, I will be good because I will have this success. And like, it didn't come.
No,
And I was
like that, does it?
Yeah, it didn't come. And so like, I think the burnout was a lot of like, I was working a lot to try prove that I was something that I wasn't. Like, I thought that being a successful businesswoman, whatever that means to people, would make me happy and would stop the burnout and would make me like have this new lease on life, but it didn't. And it was like the inner work that I had to do, which sucks because I'm like,
yeah,
as a kid, I was like, It does. And I was told to like bury everything. Like you don't know your
Right.
feelings. Like you have it so good. Like imagine the people like who are living in third world countries, like you have nothing to complain about. Stop complaining. So I never complained.
Yes.
And like it was always like, yeah, it was just this feeling of like not good enough.
Yeah.
And I think
Or
like,
I'll be happy when XYZ happens or something
yeah.
like that.
And
Yeah.
then you hit it and you're like, why don't I feel happier? But it's because like you need to feel worthy in yourself before you can like get there. And that's a hard process. So that
Yeah.
was 2022. That was last year, was
Wowzers.
developing all of that. Yeah.
But you obviously came out the other end and you found a little bit of a new lease on your energy and business motivation and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yes, I did, luckily. I think it was mainly talking to someone that helped me. Like, I
Mm.
think because I was always taught to like never complain, just push things down, like don't talk about it. I think that being able to talk about it was like really,
Critical. Mm.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was.
And just I guess how things are now, do you feel like you found a different way to operate as a business owner and, an ambitious woman?
I think as a person, yeah, like I was always like um banking on like a success to make me happy. And like um I guess like I didn't really realize that like that this like having a successful business wasn't the only thing that was going to make me happy. I needed other things around me. And like I kind of like got to the point where like I didn't want to talk to my kids. I was like, don't talk to me, like I'm so busy building this business. Like, and it sounds so brutal, especially as a mother, because like your kids are supposed to be your world. But I was so focused in this that I was like, like mummy's busy. And what really hurt was like my daughter's first like 2 words she strung together was mummy's busy, because that's what I always used to tell her.
Oh,
Yeah,
all
so
the
she was like,
heartstrings. Yeah.
yeah, so it was like I knew something had to change. And like so now I have staff, which is great, and I focus on like my family more.
Yeah.
Like I have time for them. And like I said, the profitability's dropped because I've had to hire staff, had to get a warehouse and everything like that. But that time with my family is really special. They're 4, she's about to be 5, and 3 now. So
Mm.
they're still at that really nice stage where they love to play with you and you're the world, and it's not
Yeah.
going to last forever. So
No, no. My first turned 18 yesterday as we record
wow.
this. So he was only 1 when I first started my first business. But he still likes to hang out with me, so it's not
Well,
all
that's nice.
bad.
Well, I'm hoping.
Yeah. So tell us, let's dive into some of the strategies that have helped you build this business. And actually, I'm just looking at my notes here. I was going to ask you about some of those, really, really difficult moments and situations that you've had to face, which we all do. And thank you for talking about these tough things, because it's
That's
just
okay. I
it
feel
helps
like,
other people feel like they're normal, right?
yeah,
So
I just feel like when I went through it, I was like, no one else is going through this. Why am I the only business owner that's struggling with like my mental health? Like, and I think like a lot of us do go through it, but it's so hard to talk about, isn't it? Like being vulnerable to like
mm,
strangers practically. It's so hard to be like, yeah, I had a hard time and yeah, my sales dipped, but like,
yeah.
like that's life and we're getting through it now. So
Mm.
yeah, I'm glad I have this platform to be able to tell you that it's like normal for you to have those,
Have those
days where
ups and downs in
yeah.
revenue as well as in mood and motivation and all of it. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you said something in your notes to me around a difficult situation with your product as well, which I'm sure all of us in product businesses have experienced something like that. But tell us about that.
So these brow tints that I told you about,
Mm.
they were selling really well. And so we were ordering like lower quantities before, and we decided to place a really big stock order. So like $40,000 worth of stock. And they'd sold out at the time. So we're like, this big stock order's coming. We put them on pre-sale. We had ordered from them before, obviously. So, and then they came and they were water, like almost like runny brown water. We couldn't use any of them.
No way.
We had tens of thousands of them, and we just
You had to
like,
bin them.
Yeah, we had to bin them. And at the time I was like, because obviously they're on pre-sale, we're like, they're here now, because we thought, you know,
Yeah.
they'd be good, and they weren't. And so it was like a whole, we were like, I was like, did I just lose $40,000? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
luckily our manufacturer um credited half, which
Right.
I guess is better than nothing.
Yeah.
And then they sent out new ones, but it was still like, what
Oh,
am
it's
I going to do? And then
heartbreaking, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, and so be careful with pre-sale, people. It doesn't always work out the way you want it to, does it?
No, I have had similar situations in my business in years gone by. And I just know so many others who have as well. You know, you go through several orders, they're perfect, and you know, for whatever reason, it's, you know, just this one time where a wrong, you know, pattern was used, or, you know, obviously a wrong ingredient or something along those lines. It is really, really tough when you've pre-sold, for sure. But it probably also gives you an opportunity to revise your processes a little bit, and, you know, to come up with some, you know, more watertight ways to use a pun in this case.
We learned a lot from that, but that was really hard in the moment.
Yeah. How did you not succumb to feelings like the whole like business would be just not work anymore? Because I know, you know, so many women that I speak to that, you know, something goes wrong and they feel like they're not cut out for business.
I think you just have to keep going. Like, I
Mm,
always like, there were so many times that I was like, I'm going to sell up. That's it. Like, this is done. I'm selling up. Like, I'm spending time with my kids. Like, I'm done.
mm,
And then I asked myself, like, can you just give it one more day? Like, can you do one more day? And one day the answer might be no, and that will be it.
yeah.
But at the time, it's like, yeah, I can give it one more day. Like, and
Yeah.
then that one more day turns into one more day and another day. And before you know it, months have gone by and you've got that energy back. Like, I feel those dips are like, they're temporary. Like,
Yeah.
it'll come back.
Mm,
And so you just ride out that wave. And it's like, can you give it one more day? And if the answer is yes, then keep going. And if the answer really is no, then I think like,
you got your
that's,
answer. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, that's great, because it's like you're not looking too far in the future there. You're not trying to solve all the big problems. You're just trying to get through one day, which is usually manageable. So
Yeah. Yeah. And if you just take it in those little chunks, I think like, and then when you ride the wave again and you're back up the top again, and then like everything's going well, then you can like start to, you know, plan for the future and do what you need to do. But just during those really hard times, it's like, just give it a day, give it a day. And the
yeah,
good days will come. Yeah.
yeah, I love that advice. Thank you for sharing that.
All right.
Let's talk a little bit about the marketing strategies, and just, you know, the things that you've done to grow your business over the years.
Well, to be honest, to the start with, it was just Facebook ads.
Yeah.
It was like back when the cost per purchases were low, and you can like acquire a customer for like $5, $6, $7, and everything was working well. And that's what I did for a while. Like, I mainly ran Facebook ads and let it, you know, just went with it. And then iOS 14 happened,
Mhm.
and costs like quadrupled. And then I was scrounging around trying to find a new solution.
Yep.
So that
Mm.
was really hard. Um,
Yeah, a lot of businesses really got caught out by that, for sure. And it, you know, it certainly changed the way we had to do digital marketing and advertising, for sure.
it did, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, I was so naive that I thought it would last forever, like, you know, magnetic flash. And when you first start a business, I think there are so many things that you like are naive to. And it's not until you face the situation or hear about it that you're like, shit, I got to do something about it. But yeah, it was purely like, would run ads and would get so many sales from those ads, and that happy days, like, you know, pack the orders. And like, now it's like, I think now you have to really grow a multifaceted platform approach. Like, you need to use everything available to you and then use it all together, like in a, like,
Bit more of a system, perhaps.
yeah, to be able to grow that business. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So tell us what kind of marketing strategies are you doing now that is working for you in 2023?
So we still do run Facebook ads, but that's not our sole like what we rely on anymore. So we try to use like TikTok. I think TikTok is the new channel. Like, I think if you're going to start a business now, TikTok is the place to kind of be.
Mhm.
Obviously still Facebook and Instagram to an extent, but TikTok just allows you to like that virality that Instagram once used to have. And also like use emails, so like nurturing, you know, current customers, new customers, and also Google ads, but also like I'm going to start doing a personal brand as well, because I feel like that's where people really build that trust and build that like relationship with you, because like they buy from people they know, they buy from people they trust. And so that's my next step.
Yeah, I love that, because I have been hearing a lot about well, we all would be hearing a lot about how, you know, people are getting into AI, and, you know, lots of people are using various kinds of automation in their businesses and their marketing and blah, blah, blah. And I'm a huge fan of utilizing all of these tools, but not to the exclusion of having some kind of an authentic connection. And I think we're all craving a lot of that, particularly post-COVID. So I love that you're going to build that into your marketing strategy. I think that's fabulous. And, you know, you're talking about using platforms like TikTok, as well as, you know, continuing the other social ads. Have you kind of worked out a formula now for your content that is working well? Because, you know, I think pre-Apple iOS, it wasn't quite as much of an onus to be constantly creating content for, you know, for your social platforms or anything like that.
Do
So,
you mean ads, or do you mean organic, or do you mean
or
like both?
both, you know.
I think ads are a little bit different. So ads, our strategy is like what's working, what ads are doing well, and how can we replicate something similar? How can we like change the background, change the person, change like something to replicate a similar ad? I think for organic content, it's a lot. We're trying to focus more now on like the person, like us as a brand and us as like staff, and creating that personal connection more so.
Mm.
Um, but it's a process and we haven't nailed it yet. So I'll let you know when we do.
Oh, please do. Probably you'll nail it, and then something else will change, or a new platform will
That's
come
always
out,
the
right?
way. Yeah.
Tell us what you know, when you reflect on the last 4 years or 4.5 years, however long it's been now. Excuse me. What advice would you give yourself back when you first had the idea? If you put yourself back in those shoes.
The advice I would give myself is just trust in yourself mainly. Like trust, you know what you're doing, trust in your gut, just go with that. I would also tell myself that this isn't going to make you fulfilled, or like it fulfills me in a way, but it's not like, you know, it's not just this that fulfills me anymore. It's like family and this and other things as well. Like having success isn't going to make you feel as happy or fulfilled as you want to be.
Mhm.
And I would have started a multifaceted like marketing approach back then. Like I said, it was just Facebook ads. I should have done like emails, built a Facebook community, built like you know, Google ads into it, like done a personal brand back then. And now like started TikTok back then, and now like, you know, we're a little bit late onto it. And if we had started all that back then, we would have that to fall back on, because pretty much overnight Facebook kind of like quadrupled.
Mm.
And then we were left scrounging, like, what are we going to do? We don't have anything else to market with.
Yeah.
So if I had all that back then, if I had started that and implemented that and grown that, then we would have been in a better position. But
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, hindsight's always 2020, isn't it? But you know, like I mean, it's unfortunate, but this kind of when Apple iOS happened, I mean, it sucked, and I didn't really like it either. I don't think any of us really enjoy when these major platform changes happen. But I wasn't surprised, because, you know, there've been years in the past where it's happened over and over again, and it might not be that exact scenario. Like there were in my early days in business, there was a major disruptive update to the Google algorithm that really affected SEO, and you know, then it happened with organic Facebook pages that you know, then you have to start paying ads, and same with Instagram, and so it does happen. So yeah, to have that spreading the risk really,
yeah,
uh, yeah, and collecting your own data so that you don't have to always buy it, I suppose.
very important. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so good. And let's also talk about what's coming ahead. I mean, it sounds like you're preparing for a bumper Black Friday this year.
Yeah. So like I said, the goal for Amaia right now is profitability. So we're in a big spending phase at the moment. We're spending on staff, the warehouse, like stock for Black Friday that has to kind of come now. And so we want to steady things a bit more, focus more on that profitability and yeah.
Yeah.
And
Things
yeah.
like, increasing your customer repeat rates and
Increasing average order value,
that
all
sort
that
of-
good stuff.
yeah. Any new products in the pipeline? You don't have to tell us what they are, but
We do. We just launched a lash serum today.
oh,
Yeah, we will be. So before lash serums have been around so long, but they have like, I don't know if you've heard of like, I'm not going to name it just in case, but there's certain ones that have like a product that is banned.
oh,
And so we've been trying to do an eyelash serum for ages because obviously we're my lashes. But we just couldn't get a serum without that
wowzers.
ingredient in it. And then one day I met a girlfriend for lunch. This was like beginning of the year, and she's Asian like me, so we have like really short lashes, and her lashes had grown, and I was like, what are you using? And it turns out that she's using a Perth brand, like a Perth lash serum brand. We're both based in Perth. And then so I tried it and it was great, and I looked at the ingredients and it didn't have that component, and I was like, oh, they got such a great business, like lucky them. And then I looked on their socials, they hadn't posted for a year. And I was
Oh,
like, what are you guys doing? Like, I messaged them and I was like, oh, hey, like, are you guys still, And they're like, no, like, we're not really selling it anymore. Like, I've had a promotion. I'm too busy for this. And I was like, do you want to sell it to me?
wow. How
Yeah.
lucky.
Always the business opportunist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, do you want to sell it to me? And so we did. And so it was called Elevate Beauty, with a number 8.
Okay.
And so we, acquired the brand and mainly for their lash serum.
Yes.
And now we've brought it out kind of as ours.
That's brilliant. Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations. What about moving forwards from that? If I ask you my rapid fire 3 questions, and then after that I'm going to get you to share where people could find you. So something I like to do with all the interview guests on my show is to have 3 questions just at the end that are the same for everyone. And I kind of actually asked you that first one already. What are the advice that you give yourself when you were starting out? But what would you say is one of the best decisions that you've made in your business so far?
It's to hire staff. It's to let
Oh,
go of the burden on me, because I
yeah,
felt like I had to do everything. Like I was good at this. Like
yeah.
no one else can do it like I can. Like how business owners get. Like it's a little bit like ego, a little bit like it's just too hard to hire someone.
I
The best
actually
thing
think us women are probably even better at acting like that, though, because we're quite
we
well
really
trained
are, aren't we?
to think we can do it all or have to do it all.
Yeah, we do, don't we? So like, yeah, it's been to hire staff and to let go of that pressure and be like, you don't have to do it all. Like you can
Mm.
hire people to help you. You can't do it all, I think. Like if you really want to scale and become like, you can't do everything. You have to hire people to help you to create what you want.
Yeah, you've got to buy the time as much as anything,
Yeah.
as well as the skill set. How have you approached being able to train them to do things how you like to have things done?
I was lucky. She was pretty good. um,
You bought someone
but
from.
it's just about like I hire based on personality for me. So it's like, like, can you do the job? But also like, do we gel? Like, does your personality gel with mine? And so like, I think like if they, as long as they have that personality and like will to learn and will to be able to do it, then they can do it. So yeah, but it takes time, like there's going to be mistakes on the way on both ends, and like you just go along with it and you learn from those mistakes, and just like you as a business owner, like you learn from your mistakes and you get better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have a little patience as well along the way, I suppose. That's fantastic. And then the question I love to ask everyone is, why do you love being a business owner? And I know that we don't love being a business owner every single moment of every single day, but overall, what is
You
it
know
that?
what's really great is, well, the freedom and flexibility, because with kids, it's like, how can you get a job that's 9 to 3? Or like, like, how do you get that if in a regular business? Like, it's really hard to find one, right? So it was like being able to create that flexibility for us that works. So right now, like, I can drop off my kids from school, I pick them up from school, like I'm always there, which is really great to have. Like, I know not everyone has that. So
Yeah.
and then it's like really cool to look back and see what you've created, like to look back and be like, 4 years ago, this didn't exist and I made this. Like, yeah, there's something like really fuzzy about that, I feel.
Yeah. I remember I think it was late last year, I was listening to an audio book called The Gap and the Gain. And they actually, as I think one of the authors is a psychologist, he's an organizational psychologist, but they talk about how important it is to look back on what, how much growth you've had. And I don't necessarily just mean revenue growth, but, like you say, you've created something basically from nothing or from an idea.
Yeah.
And that, there's always progress of some kind, and it really helps to buoy you up and keep them, help you to keep the momentum going rather than always focusing on what you haven't done yet.
Yeah. And I think as women, it's like, we're not so good at looking back and realizing how far we've come. We're just like, oh, we just got to keep pushing, keep going to the next thing, keep going to the next thing. But if you look like, 4 years ago or 2 years ago, you're like, right now you're in the exact position you hoped for 4 years ago. Like, you hope that you'd start the business, you'd hope that you'd get some sales, so I think, yeah, it's important to look back and just reflect, but it's so hard as women, isn't it, to like take the time and
There's always something else that gets added onto the to-do list, I think, and that's what we often look at versus taking that moment. That's so good. Now, I know that a lot of our listeners are going to want to go check you out, check out your socials, jump on your email list, probably buy some products. So tell everyone where they can find you.
So we're at Amaia, so AMAIA_lashes on socials, and I'm starting my own. So it's just under my name, ANN_Thai, THAI. Yeah.
And on the personal brand, what are we going to find there? Some more motivational content, I hope.
Find the little tagline that I made. It's pretty much just like a little insight into my life. So it's but the little description thing I put was behind the scenes of a founder trying to survive 2 kids and an aging metabolism. So it's like just really like me trying to like become the best version of myself. That's like motherhood, business, fitness wise. So it's just like a little bit of everything behind the scenes, and like maybe some tips and things like that thrown in.
Yeah, I love it. I'm going to go follow you right now. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. I will make sure that we include all of those links in our podcast show notes as well.
That's okay. It was lovely to be on here. Thanks so much, Kath.
That's awesome. So how good was that? I hope you enjoyed hearing Anne's story as much as I did. Now, there are 3 things I particularly want to draw your attention to take away from this episode, and I'll share a couple of related episodes that might, that you might just like to listen to help out if those takeouts are relevant for you. Now, firstly, she talks about needing to improve the profitability of her marketing and advertising rather than just putting all her eggs in the Facebook ads basket. Now, if you find yourself in a similar situation, I mean, I've got plenty of different episodes along similar lines, but you might really find it helpful to check out my recent episode, which is all about how to improve the profitability of your advertising, your social media advertising. So if you want to give that one a listen, just head to katherinelangman.com/episode-173. Secondly, Anne talks about some of the other things that she's doing to help improve her profitability overall, like things like increasing her average order value and increasing her repeat purchase rate and a few other things. Now, I actually dive into this topic in a lot more detail in my episode called Make Millions from Magic Metrics. So if you want to give this one a listen, head to katherinelangman.com/episode-174 for 174. And then lastly, but not least, probably most importantly. And, she was super transparent about the reality of her business journey, including many downtimes as well as high times. And she's quite emphatic about how important mindset is to ride out the challenges. And I really couldn't agree more. A bit earlier this year, I had my friend and mindset coach, Ben Elliott, on the show, and I'd love to send you back to that episode for a refresher if you know that you need to work on your own mindset right now. And you'll find that episode at katherinelangman.com/episode-171 for 171. And of course, I will include all the links to all of those extra episodes in the podcast show notes for this episode, so it's super easy for you to find. But for now, that is the end of today's episode. Of course, if you do need some help in your business, getting more website traffic and sales in your online store, whether you want to get some coaching or training or mentoring, or you want to outsource to a really whip smart team who do this all the time, that's what we do. So give us a shout. You're invited to book in a free e-commerce strategy session with us, and we can talk about, your goals for launching, scaling, and growing your business and what you need to do to get there. You can book that in by heading to katherinelangman.com/work-with-me. So that's it for today. Hope you've loved that episode, and I will be back with you again on the show next week. Bye for now.